Hi there grade 9s and welcome to WorksheetCloud Maths. I hope you're all well today and looking forward to today's lesson. If you are new to join us, I hope you will enjoy this lesson and come back again in the future. If you have been with us for a while, I still hope you enjoy today's lesson and you continue to learn. Right, so let's get started. We are going to be looking at organizing and representing data today. And as you can see, it is the first lesson in the series, but it is also a standalone lesson. So let's see what today holds. Okay, so looking at data. The data below represents the ages of a group of people who attended a wedding. But before we carry on, data is just a collection of information around a certain topic. So here we are going to be looking at people who attended a wedding, and we are going to be looking at them in age groups. So if we look at this table, you can see that the age groups are divided up: 0 to 9 years, 10 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, 50 to 59, and 60 to 69. So that actually means that the youngest people that were there were between the ages of 0 and 9, and then the oldest people were between the ages of 60 and 69. Okay, so now we can manipulate this data to answer some questions. And as you can see, these are the age groups and these are the frequency. The frequency just means the number of people in each age group. Okay, so let's have a look what we'll have to find out. What is the total number of people who attended the wedding? What is the modal class? And you need to draw a pie chart to represent the above data. And that we will go through step by step. Okay, I know that you have drawn pie charts before, but they can be a bit tricky if you're not 100% sure how to do them. But let's look at the first one. What is the total number of people who attended the wedding? Well, what we need to do is we need to take each of these, each frequency, and add it together. So 12 plus 30 plus 20 plus 27 plus 20 plus 9 plus 2. So if we add those all together, we are going to end up with 120. That means that at this wedding, altogether, there were 120 guests. Okay. Now, what is the modal class? So they're not asking here for you to explain what a modal class is, but you do need to know what it is before you can answer. Okay, so the modal class is the class with the highest frequency. In other words, the highest number of guests, which were in which class. Okay, and that is the 10 to 19 age group. There were 30 there. And if we look at all the data, we can see this is the most. This is the highest. So this class is the modal class. It is the highest number of people, and that was the 10 to 19 group. The 30 to 39 group wasn't too far behind, but it's still not the top. Okay, right, so now we're going to go on to drawing our pie chart. So we're going to, first of all, have to work out, because remember, a pie chart is circular, it is a circle, which means that there are 360 degrees. If we divide up the pie chart, we need to know how many degrees are in each section. So as it says here, we're going to put the frequency over the total frequency. So in other words, the frequency, each one of these, over the total. And we worked out the total just now to be 120. So the first one will be 12 over 120 times 360 degrees. Our answer will then give us the amount of degrees that we need to measure off for our first segment of the circle in the pie chart. Okay, so that's how we would set it out. 12 over 120 times 360. Once you've worked out how many times 120 goes into 360, then the rest is easy. You will just take that and multiply it by your numerator. But you would have to set it out like that each time. So 360 divided by 120 is 3, and 3 times 12 is 36. So our first little segment of our pie chart will be 36 degrees. And we'll go through that just now on exactly how to measure it off. But let's do the rest of the frequencies and figure out how many degrees we are going to need for each one. So the next one is 30 over 120 times 360. As I said to you, what you can do is just go 30 times 3, because we know that 360 divided by 120 gives us 3. So 3 times 30 is 90, 3 times 20 is 60, 3 times 27 is 81, 3 times 20 is 60 again, so we've got two that are exactly the same, and check. There we have a frequency of 20 and another one of 20. So we should have two pieces of our pie chart exactly the same size. But let's go on. The next one is 9 over 120. That means that 9 times 3 is 27. And then 2 times 3 is 6. So our last little segment, the one that will be left over at the end, is going to be very small. It's only 6 degrees. But let's get on and actually draw our pie chart. So, first of all, let's check the working. What you would need to do here is you need to add up all your degrees and make sure it comes to 360. So let me just move myself out the way. There we go. We've got 36 degrees plus 90 degrees plus 60 plus 81 plus 60 plus 27 plus 6. We've got all of those answers over here. If you add them up, they will give you 360 degrees. That is a must. They must add to 360 degrees. If they don't, then you've made a mistake in your calculations and your pie chart will not work out. Okay, right, let's go on and draw our chart. Okay, here we've got all our units that have been measured out in degrees, and we are going to now put that onto our chart. So we start off by drawing a circle, finding the midpoint of the circle, and drawing a radius from the side down to the midpoint. Generally, you always start over here, but you can actually start it anywhere. It just means that that's where you're going to put your protractor to measure the first segment. So let's put our protractor on there. We make sure that the middle point of the protractor is on the middle of the circle, the midpoint of the circle, and our line is on the line that we've drawn. Okay, and then we will measure off 36 degrees and we will draw a line. Okay, so there's 30 degrees, just after it is 36, and that will be our first segment, and that represents the 0 to 9 age group. Okay, now the next one, you're going to move your protractor and you're going to put it like that. Again, the midpoint of the protractor on the midpoint of your circle, and you're going to measure off 90 degrees. Okay, take your protractor away and label that segment. That is the 10 to 19-year-olds, and that is 90 degrees. Okay, that is the biggest portion. So as you're going through drawing your segments in your pie chart, just make sure that no segment is bigger than the one that we've just put in, because that is your modal class. Remember, we looked at that as being your modal class. All right, let's do the next one, which is 60 degrees. Again, you're going to move your protractor around and you're going to make sure that the middle of the protractor is on the midpoint of the circle, and you are then going to measure off 60 degrees. And there we go. Move your protractor out of the way again, and that is the 20 to 29-year-olds. Okay, and we continue to do this. The next one is 81 degrees. So it's quite big, but it's not as big as our 10 to 19-year-olds. Okay, so we're going to put the protractor back. Don't stress that this one doesn't line up, because that is not a diameter. It's not a straight line. Okay, so we then measure off 81 degrees. And can you see it is quite big? And we're going to label that 30 to 39. Okay, so that's this age group here, and we get it from here. All right, so the next one is 60 degrees again. We put our protractor back, we measure off 60 degrees, and we then label it 40 to 49. Now what some people do, just before we go on, is they actually color in the segments different colors. You are quite welcome to do that at any point, as long as you still either label it like that, or you have a key somewhere on the side with what the colors represent. Okay, second to last one, it's now 27 degrees, which, as you can see, the little piece that is left, we've got to get two sectors out of there, and we're going to put our protractor back and we're going to measure off 27 degrees. And the last one, as I said to you, was only 6 degrees, so it's going to be such a small piece of this pie. Okay, so we're going to label that 50 to 59, and then the piece that's left, you can measure it off. You probably should measure it off, but it's generally going to be fine, and that's 60 to 69. And the reason that will be fine is if you have been very accurate going around your pie chart. Okay, so just to go over, what you do is you make sure that the center of your protractor is always on the center point of your circle, and then you make sure that this line of the protractor lines up with your very first line. And then you measure off and you put in the line. You draw in the line according to where it is on your protractor. Now, if you have a look, there's the outside of the protractor is 0 to 180, and then the inside of the protractor goes 180 back to 0. So we are going to always look on the outside of the protractor because we're going to put 0 on this line and then measure off the 36, and then the 90, and then the 60, the 81, the 60, the 27, and then the 6. And as I said to you, this is what's left, and if all of these have actually been accurately measured, then that one doesn't need to be measured. So that is what your pie chart would look like according to the data that we were given about the people that attended a wedding. Right, everybody happy? Remember, if you want to ask any questions, to send your question to grade 9 at WorksheetCloud.com. And like I said to you earlier, I know this is not the first time that you've drawn a pie chart, but they can get quite tricky if you're not completely careful about your measurements, if you're not very accurate, then you end up running out of sections on your pie chart to draw in the segments. Okay, right, let's look at stem and leaf plots. Okay, this following stem and leaf plot recorded the number of points scored by a netball team in the matches that they played during the netball season. Okay, so here we have our stem leaf plot. And we generally will put in a key, but you all know what a stem leaf plot is. This is the number of the 10, and that is the number of the units. So instead of writing 26, 26, 28, we just put the 10 there, and that would be 26, and that would be 26, and that would be 28, and that would be 29. Okay, so this, therefore, is 19. But let's go and see what we have to do. So we have to find out how many matches the team played during the season. We have to find out what the team's highest score in a single match was. We need to find out what the range of points scored by the team is on this data. We need to calculate the mean number of points scored in a match, and we'll go over exactly the meaning of that. And we need to find out in how many games did the team score more than 50 points. So let's go through it one by one. Okay. So we've got how many matches did the team play during the season? Well, what we would have to do is we would have to add up. Those are not the number of matches. These are the number of matches. Why? Because that is one number. It's 19. That's 26, 26, 28, 29. So what we would have to do is say 1 plus 4 plus 4 plus 3 plus 1, like that. And the total number of matches that this team played was 13. So generally 13 weeks in a season, or otherwise they played more than one game in a week. But that's irrelevant right now. They played 13 games in the season altogether. So then what we need to do is now look at what was the team's highest score in a single match. Now all of these are single matches. So all we do is we go to the bottom and see what the last number is. And in this stem leaf plot, there's only 53. If there was 53, 54, 55, we would obviously take the last number written down here. So the team's highest score in a single match was 53. Right. Next one. What is the range of points scored by the team? The range is generally, or is not generally, it is always the top amount subtract the bottom amount. So the highest value minus the lowest value, and that will give us our range. So that is 53 minus 19. Yeah, I got 53 from here and 19 from there. And 53 minus 19 will give me 34. So the range in this data is 34. Right, the next one, as I said, we would go over this. Calculate the mean number of points scored in a match. Well, the mean number of points, what it means is it's the average, if you were to average out, how many points on average did they score in every single match. So in other words, if you were to take the points and you were to evenly distribute them across the number of matches that they played, how many points would be allocated to each match? Okay, it's just a nice way of looking at an average score, but the data terminology is the mean. All right, so what would we do? We would take every single score that they scored, add that up together, and then divide it by the number of matches. So we know the number of matches is 13. We haven't added up each match individually, so that's what we need to do. So it's the total scores divided by the number of games played, and it's quite a long calculation. So it's 19 plus 26 plus another 26, 28, 29, 34, 35, 37, 39, 41, 49, 44, 49, and 53. Add those all up and then divide them by the number of matches that were played, which we answered that in our first question. So that gives us 460 divided by 13, and we get an answer on 35,38. Now we know that you can't score 0.38 of a goal in a netball match, but this is just an average. If you were to allocate, like I said just now, if you were to take all the points and allocate them evenly across the 13 games, it would give you 35,38 points. Okay, add that up or times that by 13, you're going to get back to your 460 points. All right, in the whole season. Okay, and then the last question, in how many games did the team score more than 50 points? Well, there's only one here. If there were 3, it would be 3 games, but there's only one on this side of your Stemleaf plot, and so it is 1 game. Okay, so just to go over again, how many matches did the team play in total? You're going to just look at this part. This is known as the stem, and this is known as the leaf. Okay, now if you think about it, the stem is the main part of a plant, and again, the stem will hold the leaves. So this is the 10, and that is the 9. The 10 is the stem part, and the 9 is the leaf part. It gives us more detail about what's in the 10 range. Okay, so that's how many matches you would play, or calculate it. You would look at the leaf part. What was the team's highest score in a single match? We would look at the last one. So if there were 3 over here, 3 amounts in the 50s range, you would look for the highest one, because obviously we can say 53 is higher than 49. Okay, then what is the range of points? Remember, to work out the range, you're going to take your highest amount of points, subtract your lowest amount of points, and that would be your range. And then calculate the mean number of points scored in a match. That's just averaging out. And then how many games did the team score more than 50 points? Well, there's only 1 here in the 50 range, so it's only 1 game that they scored more than 50 points. Right, let's go on to line graphs. Okay, the broken line graph below depicts the age groups of users of a social network in South Africa in April 2011. So this is quite old data, but it doesn't matter because we can still look at it and analyze it. So this is a broken line graph, and the reason it's a broken line graph is because it has specific points. So you draw from one point to the next point and then to the next point. It's not a flowing line graph. Okay, so demographies of South African users, as in April 2011, and here are the numbers, and that is the ages again. So between 13 to 17, between 18 to 24, 25 to 35, 35 to 44, 45 to 54, 55 to 64, etc., etc. Okay, the blue depicts the whole lot together. The orange, that line there, is the men, and the gray is women. So already we can sort of tell something from this data, but let's see what we need to do with it. So first of all, it's going to ask us which age group uses a social network the most. Do men or women use social network more? Looking at the graph, could you predict whether the age category 9 to 12 to be smaller or larger than the 13 to 17 category, and give a reason for your answer? So these graphs often tell us a lot, okay? And we will be able to then predict either side of the graph as to where it's going or where it would have been before. Okay, so which age group uses social media the most? Well, we can see quite clearly it is the gray line, and the gray line represents women. Okay, so sorry, it's the age group, not the who does. The age group is this one at the highest point, and it is the 18 to 24-year-olds. I totally read that incorrectly. So on all 3 of the graphs, you can see that it's the 18 to 24-year-olds that actually use the social network the most. Okay, the next one Do men or women use the social network more? See, I knew that question was coming. And again, as I said, the grey graph is much higher at every single point than the orange or the blue. Obviously, the blue is the two combined. Okay, and then here we can see that the men are lower, but the women are definitely much higher, and the women use the social network more. So women do. That's all there is to it. And then the last one was looking at the graph. Could you predict whether the age group 9 to 12 to be smaller or larger than the 13 to 17 category? Okay, so if we were looking here at the 13 to 17 category, here we can see that it's on its way down. And here, well, we're starting actually over here, but that's just because that's the lowest category. But if you can see that actually it should probably be even less. So it would be smaller. Let me just move myself down there. It would be smaller, possibly because there are less of them that have devices. So if you think about a 9-year-old to a 12-year-old, there's less of them that have devices than the 13 upwards. Or it possibly is more parental control, so they might have the devices, but they're not allowed to go onto the social networks. Or it could also be because there is an age limit on this particular social network. So it could be a number of reasons, and you just need to choose a logical reason that would explain why the 9 to 12-year-old category would be smaller than the other categories, or smaller than the 13 to 17 categories. And if you look at the other end of the scale, the 65 and above probably is going to get even less and less and less, probably because those people have never really had social media when they were younger, and so are not really particularly interested in it now. Okay, so that is lesson 1 in the series of data handling, basically representing data. I hope to see you again. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please remember, if you have any queries, to send them to grade9@worksheetcloud.com, and also don't forget to attempt the activity that is attached to this lesson. I hope to see you again for our next lesson in the series, but remember, all these lessons are still standalone lessons, so you don't have to watch them all if you know exactly what's going on, especially if this is a support for you at school. Right, guys, keep well and keep warm until I see you next time. Bye-bye for now.